it going, Stadman? Coming back at you once again, and I'm starting to look like Grizzly Adams. Look at this. Just look. Look at this. It's getting sorta long. Anyways, I'm coming at you today with my hair all shaggy and everything. That doesn't matter because I got my hat. Which is a Mariners hat, and the Mariners are really awful right now. They're about to lose this year when they were supposed to do pretty good. So that's a little depressing, but whatever. We're not going to talk about that. We're not here to talk about sportsing today. Today we're here to talk about, as the title has probably given away, some vinyl finds that I made, some records that I picked up. I went on down to the record store, Everyday Music, that we have here in the Portland area. We're a couple here in the Portland area. And I looked around for some records. Now, typically when you go to a store like this, you spend fucking forever. You just spend an hour or two, maybe 3 hours in there looking around because, you know, you're never gonna find everything you want, you know, obviously, but sometimes just to find the one or two good things that you do want or that you might want, you really have to dig. You have to dig in there. You have to look around all over the place in every little nook and cranny, and then you'll find something eventually, you know what I mean? Typically. Sometimes it's just all picked over, like any DVD or Blu-ray hunt would be, but you know, when it comes to records, there's just so many of them that you just sitting there flipping through them all for hours on end. So, yeah. Anyways, that being said, I decided to go to the record store not only because I had a bunch of stuff, I had a bunch of like old DVDs and Blu-rays that I wanted to trade in and sell essentially, but also because I had read a recent article. This article was talking about the resurgence of vinyl, the resurgence of records as a physical media platform. And I kind of talked about this, touched on a little bit in one of my videos that I did recently. A lot of people have been giving me a lot of positive feedback for. I was talking about the death of physical media and how that's a greatly exaggerated rumor. Well, guess what? I was right. And, you know, fact actually backs that up here in the case of vinyl, because turns out that so far this year, vinyl has actually outpaced YouTube, Spotify, and Pandora in sales. I'm not even shitting you here. When it comes to like ad-supported, free streaming music sites, whether it be YouTube, Pandora, or Spotify, or any of those, when it comes to those ad-supported networks, they earned like, so far this year, they've earned like $130-something million. But in comparison, believe it or not, vinyl sales have gone over 200 million this year so far. As a matter of fact, this year so far, vinyl sales make up 1/3 of all physical music sales. 1/3. That's not just a resurgence. That's a fucking bam. We're back, baby. You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't believe it yet, it's time to believe the hype now. Vinyl is fucking back. It's legitimately one of the major forces in music today. It kind of blows my mind because it wasn't but 5 years ago, if you had told somebody that, they would have called you crazy. If you had told somebody 5 years ago that vinyl in 2015 is going to make a huge comeback and it's going to start representing a huge portion of music sales, 2010, 5 years ago, everybody's like, no, it's going all digital. What are you, fucking insane? It's already gone all digital. Well, guess what? It already all went digital, but there are still people out there who want their physical fucking media. And that's what I was talking about, man. And so, because I was so happy about that, I just kind of had to celebrate, and I was happy to see that, because it's like, it doesn't just mean that physical media is not dying. It also just means that, you know, that the formats that I enjoy for movies and stuff like that probably aren't going to die either. I mean, some of them, depending on the format, might actually make a resurgence. I mean, we're already sort of kind of seeing a bit of a resurgence for VHS, which I talked about in that video. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that happen with Blu-ray as well. I mean, maybe not DVD, because DVD is, well, it's DVD and there are a lot of issues with that. But with Blu-ray, you got some positive things with Blu-ray that people are going to be looking for. One, high quality. HD. You know, all the way, HD all the way. Two, with Blu-ray, you've also got scratch-resistant discs that are some of the best scratch-resistant discs in the world. They're just some of the best. They're almost impossible to destroy. You can play a scratched Blu-ray perfectly fine. And if it has like a fingerprint and the fingerprint is causing problems with the laser in your Blu-ray player, you just wipe the fingerprint off and bam, problem solved. You know what I mean? So it has the potential for longevity in a variety of different little areas, I guess is what I'm getting at. Which is exactly what happened with vinyl in a lot of little areas where, you know, whether or not you believe it or not, whether or not you believe that the sound is actually better with vinyl, it does sound different, and people like that. People want that different sound. They want that different sound quality that you get from vinyl. And another thing that people like about vinyl is that you get these really nice big fucking pictures and these beautiful fucking representations of these albums that you love and enjoy. So, needless to say, it's just really cool. Now that I've rambled on about this for so long, why don't I finally show you what I picked up? I ended up getting 28 bucks back for the Blu-rays and DVDs that I sold. Let me specify, these were all like DVDs that I had upgraded to Blu-ray, or Blu-rays that I had upgraded to better Blu-rays. So they're all movies that are still in my collection. It's just I had like duplicates and I was getting rid of them essentially. So I got 28 bucks back from that, and I ended up spending less than $4 on these three records that I found. First off, we've got Styx, The Grand Illusion. Oh yes. This is a really great album. I mean, I don't know if you know, but yeah, this is one of the best albums probably ever. But when it comes to like Styx, it's probably one of my favorite albums of theirs as well. You've got Fooling Yourself on there, which honestly, the sound quality of vinyl is just fucking perfect for that song, because you've got like the digital music in there that's just fucking beautiful. It's just magnificent. I was listening to it earlier, I was like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. And they've also got Come Sail Away on here. You know, Come Sail Away, that's probably one of their most famous songs actually. And then my personal favorite Styx song of all time, I don't know why, it's just my favorite, is Miss America. That's also on here. And one that Brandon pointed out to me actually, Castle Walls. There's a point in Castle Walls where if you're listening closely enough, it actually kind of sounds like the theme song to Halloween a little bit. So I was like, oh wow, that really does sound like Halloween. And Brandon was convinced that the reason for that was because John Carpenter heard this album maybe and kind of took from that a little bit. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. But it was kind of neat that it sounded like that. Anyway, the next two that I picked up, the last two actually that I picked up, were both soundtracks, because one of the big reasons that I wanted to get into collecting vinyl was because you can get these really cool movie soundtracks from, you know, the 70s, the 80s, the 60s that were really well crafted, sometimes well crafted, sometimes not, but you know, they had these interesting soundtracks to these movies back then, right? I actually saw one in the store today that I was tempted to pick up, Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I've talked about it in the past. It's a really great movie scored by Bob Dylan, and the soundtrack is just fantastic. It's one of the best. But sadly, it was not in that good condition, so I had to pass up on it. But, you know, it was really cool to see it in there. This one, the case, or I'm sorry, the slip cover here is not in very good condition. Kind of looks like a rat's been chewing on it. But the record itself was in pretty good condition, and it was only 50 cents. So I said, as was the Styx record, by the way. But I said, why the hell not? This is the soundtrack to American Gigolo, which is a Paul Schrader movie, produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, and scored by Giorgio Moroder, who you should know. Giorgio Moroder is a pretty big deal. Anyway, the main theme is Call Me by Blondie, one of my favorite songs, and aside from just that main theme of Blondie's Call Me, almost every other song on this album is like some sort of a remix of Call Me. And I thought that was funny. Just like, really? I know it's the main theme and all, but do you have to be calling back to it so heavily in every other piece that you did for this movie, Mr. Moroder? I don't know. It sounds really good, right? So I didn't mind. I mean, anything that was done by Giorgio Moroder, you're probably not going to go wrong. And in this case, you're not going to go wrong. I can tell you that. But yeah, I really liked the music when I actually heard it. But I kind of didn't know anything more than that it had "Call Me" on it. You know, I bought it based on that and based on the name Giorgio Moroder, and just based on the fact that it's a Paul Schrader movie. You know, like, I was really interested in checking this out and listening to it and seeing what it was like, and yeah, not disappointed in the least. 50 cents, but yes, as I mentioned, you can see that looks like a rat's been chewing on it or something, but whatever. Record's in good condition at least. So I guess that's all that matters. Last and definitely not least, when I saw this, I was just like, well, that's coming home with me. And it was only in good condition, mind you, which is, you know, if you know records, it's not necessarily great condition, right? But it's good, it's okay, it's serviceable, it's passable. But the reason I picked it up was because of how beautiful it was. Even if it's like a little banged up here and there, just I have to show you. I can't describe it. Words can't describe it. If you're a movie buff, this is exactly the kind of thing you want to see. Exactly the kind of thing you want to get in order to kind of add to your collection and, you know, boost your collection and make it much more respectful, like, you know what I mean? Something that you can proudly display that shows your love appropriately for this movie. And that would be the soundtrack to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which of course was scored by the great John Williams. And actually on the back here of the jacket, you've got this nice little letter by Steven Spielberg himself, which I will read to you right now. So, Steven Spielberg says, "One day John Williams told me something I never would have imagined. That creating a musical score for a nearly completed motion picture is far and away more frustrating than creating an original symphonic composition that never has to conform to the beats, measures, and boundary layers of a screen story, but instead flows freely from the composer's imagination as he tells his own story from start to finish. This is perhaps why much of John's music for Close Encounters of the Third Kind is so airborne and awe-inspiring. He actually started work on musical ideas 2 years before Close Encounters was finalized, basing his impressions on the unfinished script and dinner conversations we would have twice a week. In many instances, John wrote his music first, while I put the scenes to it much later. Because of the complicated special effects that adorn this final 35 minutes of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, John found himself composing to blank leader months before the effects were finished and cut in. This was a challenge to both of us, but it liberated John to score freely, sans coitus interruptus, and inspired me in reconstructing certain visuals to the final music. John became more than just a composer for hire. He was a creative collaborator in all phases of post-production, spending every day for 15 weeks in the mixing studio and editing rooms. He taught me about underrated Russian composers and good German wines, and I taught him how to pace the hallways and how to eat junk foods. John's freedom of choice is evident in every selection on this album. Once again, John Williams has taken the motion picture and interwoven his own musical storytelling skills to create higher levels of beauty and suspense. His music for Close Encounters goes beyond simply allowing the listener to recall his favorite scenes, but stands on its own as a serious symphonic achievement, timeless and without restraints." Ladies and gentlemen, that was words from the mouth, well, from the brain rather, of Steven Spielberg himself. And it kind of goes to show you, something similar happened, of course, with E.T. I would not be surprised if that was the case with most of the movies that John Williams scored for Steven Spielberg. Because clearly he has that respect for John Williams. Clearly he understands, and clearly he wants to let him do his work. And he's willing, and has been willing in the past, to make his movie fit to the music that John Williams provided. And if you watch all the movies that he's worked with John Williams on, you definitely get the sense that it wasn't just Close Encounters and E.T. It was probably everything that they've worked together on. But yeah, as if this wasn't enough for $2.90, which was the final price for this, as if all that wasn't enough, then you open it up to discover this. Isn't that magnificent? This is fucking beautiful. Oh, I love it. I loved it. When I saw that, when I was sitting in the store and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I wonder what, I'm buying this. That's what happened. I mean, I love the music in this movie. I probably love the music in E.T. a little bit more, but I mean, it's Close Encounters of the Third fucking kind, man. You gotta get it. So, yeah. I guess I would say that, all in all, I made 2 really good scores when it came to, like, soundtracks for movies here. Particularly the good score with Close Encounters. But I'm also very happy to have found Styx here. Because I had Best of Styx record that I picked up at Goodwill at some point. But it didn't really have many of my favorite songs on there. So, of course, now I have The Grand Illusion. I mean, that's a very nice one too. But all in all, I'd say the best haul that I got here was probably 2 really cool soundtracks. Because I'm a movie buff, so, you know, that's what I'm... one of the main reasons that I'm collecting these. So, yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later. Peace.